strange times continue. We've had plague, we've got war. I'm not going to go so far as to claim that Brexit has resulted in famine. I think that would be rather, rather overstating it, especially when there are so many parts of the world that are going through genuine famine right now. But we're also seeing a lot of climate change related famine. So, we've got three of the four horsemen of the apocalypse. And of course we've all lost plenty of people, haven't we, over the last couple of years. So yeah, interesting times. Let's try not to be too gloomy about it. Yeah, anyway, upbeat, time for a bit of escapism. Let's be upbeat about things. Today I'm going to do a bit of a request. So following on from the discussion of warband allies from the core rulebook, I have been asked if I will talk about the allies and warband choices that are available in Mythic Cycles, which I will do. See, I listen to requests. If you have any requests, do make them. I will get round to them. I'm aware I have an outstanding request to talk about some terrain that's in my studio. I'm deliberately holding off on that because I am wanting to return to that project a bit later in the year, and so when I do that, then we can talk about it. But I have clocked it, and it will happen as long as circumstances allow it to happen. So anyway, Mythic Cycles is a bit of a mixed supplement. So there are currently 2 supplements, with a third one in the pipeline. I was hoping to get it out last year. It's been pushed back for various reasons. I'm now hoping to get it out this year. But Barrier Ring Burning, which is the supplement that was available for the first edition and is now updated for the second edition, that's an RPG campaign. Mythic Cycles is a bit more of a mixed bag. It contains some RPG elements, it contains some skirmish elements, and it contains some battle elements. As indeed will the new one. It will be a sort of mixture of all of the things, but it introduces some new types. But as was pointed out, it doesn't say what type of folk the new types refer to. So it doesn't have a fen folk section, a hill folk section, a mine folk section. So how do you decide what allies you can take from this book? Well, let's have a look, shall we? So the first new race, entirely new race we have in here is the Cludba, and they're a kind of halfling race. And so we've got a new standard profile for them, RPG characters, a skirmish warband list, and a battles list. But they're not assigned a particular folk type. So, what allies could they take, and for what warband could you take a Cludba ally? They are actually under the same category as the Tuatha. In the original version, the kind of mortal races, the Tuatha, were described as fire folk. We dropped that from the new version because there's just the one type, but if that were extended into a range, Cludba would be included with them. They go hand in hand with the Tuatha. So you can take Tuatha allies with a Cludba warband. You can take Cludba allies with a Tuatha warband. However, it should be noted that the standard profile of a Cludba is not so very different from the standard profile of a Tuatha. They are quite similar. So other than for the sake of character, I'm not sure that there is necessarily a reason why you would pick one over the other. Cludba have short bows, Tuatha have slings. Cludba have a point less of strength and a point extra of endurance, which doesn't make a huge deal of difference in game. But there you are. They're mostly designed to play among themselves. They are a community that are, apart from the civilization at Stanclad, they keep themselves to themselves. So you wouldn't really expect them to be incorporating much in the way of other folk types into their numbers. So that makes up that section. Then there's a new troop type for a Spriggan warband that just is included in the regular troops. It's not available as an ally for other characters to take. I'm going to talk about Yaltog caravans separately in a moment, because that was a specific question, and they're not necessarily complicated, but they work a bit differently. Then there's some background. Then we have the Fey Walkers. They have a Mintai is their skirmish warband list, and also the Summatians, who are the sort of Fey martial cavalry types. So they have a skirmish band list in here as well. And because they're Fey, they all come under Fair Folk. Okay, that's fairly simple and straightforward. But if you take Wild Walkers in your Mintai warband, you have the ability to take Wolver, Bear, Boar, Deer and Wolf types as well. If you take a Weird Walker, you can take Boars, Deer and Ravens. So there's a bit of room for flexibility there. If you take a Way Walker, you can pick some more folk types. You can pick Barghest, Falcon, Deerhounds, Dinadri, Falcons, Foxes, Gillythee, Owls, Piskies and Ravens. So there's a bit of room within what you pick in your Fey Walker warband as to what you can take to ally them with. And that's entirely deliberate. You've got all of these different types of Walker who bring different elements into the warband, so you can mix it according to how you want to play the band. The Submissions, again, they're fair folk, so they can take Fey allies, they can take sprites and brownies, same as a regular Fey. And in fact, the sprite being the sort of martial errand flyer, if you like, is particularly appropriate to take for a Submission warband, to the extent that it's already listed here in the list. And in fact, you don't need to take it as an ally, because you get a discount for taking it within a Submission warband. So yeah, you don't need to take it as an ally. There you go. And this also has lots of hobbies in here as the regular troop type. So again, you don't need to take those as allies. They're already included within the warband list at a slight discount. Then we move on to a gnome character. There's the Damari, who's like the sort of lone dwarf ranger or gnome ranger type. And this is an RPG character, so this is not intended as an ally for a gnomic warband, although you could take one if you want. There's points cost here. I don't see any reason why you couldn't include one as the leader of a gnomic warband, or indeed an ally for another warband that's able to take gnome characters. But yeah, it's largely intended as an RPG character, as is the Cobbler Eye on the following page. Then you've got RPG profiles for Coral Knights. So again, not entirely intended to be an addition for a Fenfolk warband, although there's no reason why you couldn't take one. And then you've got the Coral Knight Retinue, which is a bit like the CD Courts or the Yaltog troop that we're going to talk about in a minute. This is a very broad area. Coral Knights, they travel all over the place and they collect together a ragtag band of followers. So the Coral Knight Retinue lets you take not just any standard profile type of any creature in the book, but also any troop type from any warband list in the book. So you have full carte blanche pick of what you take, with the exception that you can't have any Fey in a Coral Knight warband. So other than that, you can take what you like. So this is extremely broad. So there is only one limiting factor here, and that is that you don't have any options when it comes to picking a Coral Knight character. Okay, they come with a set profile. You generate them as an RPG character, but then beyond that, there's no additional skills that you can add, no additional equipment that you can add. You can't buy extra recruitment points. You're stuck to your 100 initial recruitment points. So if you are buying, you know, big, powerful characters, you can't just spend all of your Coral Knights additional leader points to max out and get twice the size of warband that you could previously. You are stuck to the initial 100. So things can get quite expensive, and you'll have small retinues for your travelling knights, which is the intention. It also gives you the ability to generate your own creatures, because of course Coral Knights travel to other realms, they might bring back other strange things. You'll find them on here. Thevshi, these are a thing to throw into an RPG, but there's no reason that they couldn't make an appearance in skirmish games. These are a thing that need to be summoned and bound to a Fate Weaver, and at the moment there are no rules for doing this, but you know, we'll get there. I'm sure that's something that we can add in. The problem with binding Thevshi is that over time they latch onto the soul of the Geomancer and take them over. So there would be a penalty for running Thevshi long term in a game. They're a kind of thing that really ought to be summoned and then dismissed over the course of a game, and it should be quite costly to do so. So they're not something that most Fate Weavers would dare to do. And then the rest of the thing is dedicated to building mythic warbands with heroes which work slightly differently, and then seasonal elements and other creatures that you can add in to your warband, to your skirmish games, in order to mix them up a bit. So let's go back to Yaltog troops. So there's been some question as to how Yaltog troops work, and the answer is that they work very much as a CD or an unCD court does, but they are not tied to alignment. They're tied to types of creature that would be attracted to a Yaltog troop as it travelled across the land. So Yaltogs are woodfolk, so you do have access to woodfolk allies with a Yaltog warband, but that's not immediately stipulated, because actually most of the woodfolk that you might pick as allies are included within their recruitment list already. So you can recruit Tuatha, you can recruit pixies, you can recruit boggarts, you can recruit piskies, other Yaltogs, leprechauns, tro, goblins, kobolds, norlocks, hobyas, and brownies. So you've got quite a range of things, which lets you, I guess, sort of tailor that to however you like. If I was being really sort of clever in my warband composition, I think I would think about what elements that I wanted. So I would want an element who could grab objectives quickly. I would want a fighting element. I would want a shooting element. And I would want some magical fate weaving capability. So I think my first port of call for objective grabbing, I would grab boggarts, because this is a warband list that lets you grab multiple boggarts, so that makes use of their synchronized skill. For my fate weaving, I would grab a Feardag from the leprechauns list. Now obviously troop types don't give you access to the leaders of warbands, so I can't take a hag mother, which would be my preferred choice, but Feardag is a fairly good secondary fate weaving character. For my shooty, I would take some muskrats, and for my fighty capability, I think hobyas is probably the best bet out of those. So I threw together some points, and I reckoned that spending some of my leader points to up recruitment, I could get 4 boggarts, a Feardag, a muskrat, and 4 hobyas, which would give me a fairly good starter base for a hobya troop. But of course, there's a lot of fluff in the hobya stuff. It's all about sort of carnivore and slightly sort of Romany gypsy influenced, and it's about sort of taking in outcasts, and it's about teaching communities lessons as well as you as you travel through them. So there's quite a lot of interesting character and fluff to it, and I think it would be a shame to just throw all that aside in order to min-max your way to the best warband that you could possibly get from the situation. So I think Yaltog troops could be quite a fun thing to play with. The other thing that I should mention about Yaltog troops, which is unique to them, is that they have this thing called banked skills. So the leader, your chief Yaltog, can spend his points to bank skills from the skills tree that you can then give to other troops in the warband. So they don't, rather than other warbands where you're picking skills just for the leader, and you might have options to pump other troops as well. In this case you can pick whatever skills you like as the leader, but then you're giving them to other troops. So this is this kind of idea of a ragtag band of players taking on waifs and strays and nurturing them and mentoring them and bringing them on to better themselves. So they're gaining these skills as they belong to the warband, as they come under the chief Yaltog's wing. So this means that you've got an extra layer of flexibility. Now the backed skills are fairly expensive. It's 3 of your leader's points, so you're not going to be banking many of them, especially if you want to be able to recruit more from this mixture of lists. But picking the odd skill here and there for specific troops is definitely going to be a helpful thing. So I hope that's been a useful sort of talk through of Mythic Cycles. It really is intended to play with. Okay, it's really intended to just have some fun with the lists in the book and not be too worried about what you are and aren't allowed to do in terms of legality of the game. Okay, this is about playing with these fun sort of mythic fantasies. So have some fun, and I look forward to seeing what you create, and I will catch you next time. Take care.